Sovryn Community Call, Issue 12. My name is Inglandia, and I help with community and business development for the Sovryn community. Now, if you'll allow me, I would love to open up the call with a dope freestyle rap. So just give me a second to load up the music, and we'll see how this goes. Very unrehearsed, very raw. World premiere.
Sounds like one of our token sales.
Yeah, there you go. All right, here goes. Another week full of hype with the Bitocracy, so I'll rap a Sovryn verse like no one stopping me. Yesterday, we had an influx of tweets and new follows after the proposal from Anthony Pomp. He wants to get involved, though, and create a new stronghold for Bitcoiners who put potential yield on hold. We need DeFi for Bitcoin, secure and permissionless, so we can all build our wealth as central banking diminishes. We're rapidly building solutions at light speed from the AMM to new pegs with the likes of Keep, jumping on calls with potential market makers, preparing for live trading SOV sooner or later. Transferability is happening a week from now. Dig the sound. Say goodbye to dollars, euros, and pounds. We govern without crowns. No centralization allowed. Sovryn, the DeFi black chip, talk of the town. All right. There's your much appreciated. Glad y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks for sharing in this mission. My name is Inglandia again, and the rules are, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. If you would like to speak, please toggle the mute button back and forth to get our attention. And if that doesn't work, feel free to politely jump into the conversation. I know you may have questions about Pompliano's proposal, so please save that for Sunday's AMA if you can at 11 a.m. EST, so New York time. So before we go through the agenda, would anyone like to introduce themselves? If you're here for the first time, would you like to just say your name and say hi? This is a completely open forum, so the floor is yours if you'd like to say what up.
What up?
Awesome. So let's...
What
hello?
up, guys? Hello.
Hey, what's your name?
Henry.
Nice to meet you, Henry. Welcome to the Sovryn Community Call. So allow me to bring in Idan Yago, the chief cheerleader of Sovryn project. Feel free to take the floor.
I take it I missed the rap.
You might have, but you can catch the recording.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, you're on mute in case you're trying to speak.
Yeah, Yago, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. It's very cool to see how these calls grow from call to call. There's a lot going on and a lot to talk about. Two things in particular. We have two upcoming SIPs which are very important, and we have liquidity, trading, and SOV to discuss. And so what's going to be happening in the very near future is we can expect two SIPs. The first, you probably have already seen, is the strategic sale being suggested by a syndicate led by Anthony Pompliano. I'm very excited that we're starting to see the community grow at an exponential rate. More different and larger players are looking to get involved in the future of finance and help us build the financial operating system of the future. And I'm extremely excited that most or many of you who are on the call are OGs who have been with us before, let's call them the institutions got involved. It's exciting, and I'm proud that you mutants and I all get to be OGs in this project. I don't think we'll be talking too much today about the syndicate proposal put forward by Anthony Pompiano for two reasons. First of all, he's not on the call. Second of all, there is an entire AMA dedicated to that at 11 a.m. EST, which I believe is 3 p.m. GMT on Sunday. So anyone who's interested in discussing that, that will be a great forum to ask questions, to discuss, and for us to have the opportunity to discuss with as a community. Beyond that, there is another SIP which we expect to be coming forward. I know that some people are working on it and expect to have it done today, which is all about managing our treasury as a community. So at this point, the Sovryn protocol has somewhat over 400 Bitcoin in its treasury, and that is a powerful tool that we can use to advance the protocol, but also, and this is one of the key things, utilize it for improving the pricing and liquidity in the system. And that brings me to the matter of liquidity. So, as many of you have pointed out, the prices, and in particular the price of Bitcoin, it's like, Sovryn tells the future. When the price of Bitcoin is going to hit $60,000, it hits $60,000 a day or two in advance on Sovryn. But what we would like is we would like the pricing to be effectively the same as on other platforms. And the reason that isn't happening has been discussed multiple times. We can talk about it a little bit more today. But what is key is that we as a community are now going to crush that liquidity problem. We're going to squash any price differentials that shouldn't be there. And there's multiple things that we can do in order to make that happen. And that, I think, should be the primary thing that we discuss during this call, because if we crush that price differential, and if we increase the liquidity in the system, what that means is that we will be able to remove the whitelisting and allow the entire world of liquidity and the entire world of users onto our system. And that, I think, goal is extremely close. And so I'd like to talk with all of you guys how we make that happen over the course of the coming couple of weeks. We will have the opportunity to discuss those things in greater detail after the updates from the different team members. And so I'd like to hand it over to Aurora.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, like you heard, bringing liquidity onto the system was one of our, not just one of our most important goals at the moment, but the most important goal. And so our development efforts were centered around this purpose. So we made a lot of progress on all of the bridges. So we launched Fastbdc with 0.1 Bitcoin limits. This is an improved version of our old Fastbdc, which is now better distributed, more robust and secure. And we're going to increase the limits to 1 Bitcoin after a successful audit of the system. Some of you helped us testing the Ethereum bridge. So thanks very much for the valuable feedback. Like, this really helps us to improve. And there at the moment, we're in the process of setting up a distributed federation. So we're preparing for mainnet launch as well. What needs to happen before the mainnet launch is that the audit of the backend side needs to be completed. Currently, we're just having an audit of the smart contracts, but we would like to have a full system audit before launching the bridge with a considerable amount of funds in it. So the same bridge which we're using for Ethereum, we're also using for Binance Chain. And this allows us for even more and easy liquidity onboarding from this side and for better arbitraging opportunity. Arbitraging has been a topic which has been discussed here in the community a couple of times. Like, you can see that our prices are sometimes diverging from the prices traded on other venues. And this would not need to be if our arbitraging opportunities would be taken often enough. But what is currently keeping us from taking advantage of these opportunities is a difficulty to complete the arbitraging cycle. So you can sell Bitcoin for a higher price, but then it's hard to transfer, like to swap the USDT back to Bitcoin, because you cannot do it on RSK. There's not sufficient liquidity, and so you would need to go to a different chain. And with our bridge to the Binance chain, they're enabling exactly this use case. So we hope this will help us to make a big step in taking the price to the Oracle rate. We've also made progress on our Bitcoin bridge. So we ran the first end-to-end test locally, and by doing so found a few issues which are currently being solved. And we expect to have a running testnet version ready sometime next sprint. So we will keep you updated about this, and we'll ask your help with testing again. As most of you know by now, we are also preparing to roll up into Arbitrum, and having a running data node on the Arbitrum testnet. Our complete system is deployed there. We did some internal testing, and what is the next step is to connect it to a front end, which allows like all of the community to join in the testing efforts. And then we need to enable the rollup from the RSK testnet, because currently it's only possible from Kovan. We need bridges directly to the rollup, and we need to test the migration of all of the existing funds on the existing contracts. So these were like the main points of work for the sprint. We also had some smaller tasks which we're working on. We've almost finished the test migration from Brownie to Hardhat. We introduced some improvements to the Sovryn nodes, mostly on the front-end side to make the operation easier. So if any one of you would like to run a Sovryn node, let us know. And then there were some updates on the UI side. So staking is now live on mainnet. If you haven't seen already, check it out. And once your tokens become liquid, you can choose to stake them in Bitocracy for more voting power. And later also fee sharing. At this moment, it's not yet enabled, but it's going to be enabled sometime soon. We are having new data feeds and new graphs for trading pair prices. We made a huge progress on the hardware wallet integration, but it's still not live because it's still in progress. And our design system and patterns are nearly finished. And apart from that, there were a couple of bug fixes. So on the front-end side, there's also always a lot of different things going on. But really, like the main point here is that staking is live on mainnet. And yeah, that's it with the update from the sprint. So on the next sprint, we're still going to focus on the liquidity side. So we're going to still be working on the bridges because they're just a huge amount of work. And maybe we have also time to look into improved liquidity mining. What is coming next sprint, which is rather important for all of you, is that the first the origin tokens become liquid next Friday. And so we're planning to have SUV listed on the platform by the state, so you can directly use them to provide liquidity to the Sovryn AMM pool, or to stake them, or if you would like also to sell them.
So just to jump in, Aurora, with one clarification, so that people don't misunderstand. We will have the Sovryns pair trading on our platform, and our target date for that is March 30th. the tokens become unlocked on March 26th. And part of the reason that we want to do it on March 30th is to allow people who would like to act as liquidity providers and earn fees on every single transaction that happens, have opportunity to deposit their funds as market makers to effectively add liquidity to that pool.
Yes, by adding liquidity to the pool, you will be earning trading fees. So it can be quite a lucrative business if you do not know what else to do with your SOV. Yeah, and I think that's it, mostly from the development side. If there are any questions now, specifically about development updates, I'm willing to answer them. But else you can also ask. Yeah.
I have a question. So with regards to the pool, the BTC SOV pool, is it strictly trading fees, or will there be some sort of liquidity mining attached to it as well?
It would be great to have liquidity mining attached to it as well. We might have it, and I think it's on the plan. But I'm
only asking so that people can obviously make informed choices. Obviously, impermanent loss is something people need to consider, but obviously having liquidity mining will obviously compensate for that. But I just wanted to know if maybe it's not at the beginning, maybe it's something, I'm sure it's on the roadmap, but I just wanted to know when you initially launched the pool.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be ready when we initially launch the pool, but I think it's something we can consider giving retrospectively as well. So this would need to be discussed and then, of course, communicated accordingly. But I think that you're having a very valid point, and it's important to offer liquidity mining rewards, especially at this early stage.
Thank you for answering.
I have a question.
Comment on that point. Doesn't Bancor V2 protocol, which Sovryn AMM is based on, actually have mitigations for impermanent loss?
The thing is that impermanent loss does not happen like on a regular AMM. It's because we're having a different model. Like we are having one-sided liquidity provision to the contracts, and the model of the contract should ensure that impermanent loss is not created, because the Oracle is creating the incentives for the market to always restore the balance of the two different currencies. So if the market would be behaving as expected by the model, which means that arbitraging opportunities would be taken frequently enough, then it would not be created. But at this moment, we're having the situation that arbitraging opportunities are not being taken frequently enough, which means that at this point, our AMM is also creating impermanent loss. However, this should be only a temporary phenomena, because as we're having more liquidity in the system in total, liquidity, like the price will not move as much, arbitraging opportunities will not be created as frequently as they are now, and B, we're going to have better arbitraging as well, so, and more market participants. So this is more a problem we're having now in the very early stage, and which should be less of a problem later on. But this is one of the reasons why it's important to offer liquidity mining now at this very early stage of the fall, because later, according to the model, and maybe we might need to tweak it a little bit, the impermanent loss should not be created any longer.
Got it.
Hello,
thanks.
can I make a question?
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Yeah,
Yes.
if the SOV BTC pair is going to be working on an AMM pool based on Oracle AMM pool, what is going to be the price feed? Because SOV has no price in any market at all in this moment.
This is a very, very excellent question, and something which I almost forgot mentioning. But exactly because of this purpose, SOV will be a V1 pool. This means that SOV will be a very regular AMM, like Uniswap, for example, where you need to provide two currencies and the price is determined by the function. And we do not have, so this is why this pool will also generate impermanent loss, just like any other regular AMM.
Okay, thank you.
At some later point, we might.
Aurora, it might be a good idea to say what impermanent loss is.
Yeah. So impermanent loss is a loss which is experienced by staking to a protocol, in contrast to just hodling your funds, just because you're always have to provide two different currencies and the market dynamics are like the price of the system is being computed by the relationship between the two different values. So because the AMM is trying that the ratio in each pool remains at 50-50 in terms of the value of the liquidity, you can make a loss in comparison to the gains from the asset which you deposited. I think this was a very terrible explanation.
let me give it a shot. All right. So in a regular AMM like Uniswap, what you do is you deposit two assets. So for example, you deposit Ethereum and you deposit wrapped BTC, right? And those two trade against each other. Now, if you were just holding wrapped BTC and the price of BTC goes up in comparison to Ethereum, you would, despite the fact that you're making money from every single trade that happens in the system, you are losing, you might be losing more money in that you're splitting your exposure away from Bitcoin. Okay, now our system doesn't work that way. Our system, what we have is the ability for you to deposit only one asset, right? So you don't experience impermanent loss in the same way. However, let's say that you probably have some desire to hold SOV. Otherwise, you wouldn't have SOV. You wouldn't have acquired SOV. And in doing so, what you've demonstrated is a desire to sell Bitcoin and hold SOV. Now, let's say that you deposit SOV into our pool, right? Before there's an oracle. Right? Once there's an exchange which is trading, or even external exchanges like Uniswap, which are also trading SOV, that we can start pulling in those data feeds. But until then, there's no oracle which is constantly rebalancing the ratio and the price. So what could happen is that the price of SOV continues to go up. And because you're making a market, in other words, you're saying to people, maybe I should take this a step back. What is market making? Market making is there's John and there's Mary. Okay, and John wants to buy SOV, and Mary wants to sell SOV. Okay, now in a regular environment, right, in a pure P2P environment, John would have to find Mary, and they would both have to be willing to make the same size trade at exactly the same time. This is obviously extremely impractical. And so into the middle steps the market maker. The market maker in a traditional market is basically like the guy who sets up a store and says, I will always be willing to buy and sell these two assets. And so when Mary comes, he sells he buys SOV, and when John comes, he sells SOV, and that could be 2 days apart, right, or 30 seconds apart. It doesn't matter. He's making a market. All right, now that's what the big banks, that's what the hedge funds do. They make their money by making markets. Robinhood is free because market makers will pay Robinhood just for the opportunity to make a market, because it's extremely lucrative, because you take a little bit you sell at a slightly better price on each side. But if you're in the business of holding rather than maintaining a neutral position, right? What it basically means is that you're saying to people, listen, guys, anyone who wants to buy my SOV, I'm willing to sell SOV. And if the trade is all going in one direction, in other words, people are all looking to buy SOV, or people are all looking to buy BTC, like in our platform right now versus USDT, it means that over time, you're just basically constantly selling to people your SOV. Now, you're selling your SOV. If you are interested in selling your SOV, the best way to do it is to be a market maker. Why? Because you get to basically dollar cost average, right? Bitcoin cost average down your SOV. And you're always selling at a rate which is slightly better because you're taking the market maker fee, right? So if you want to sell SOV, the best way to do it is to be a market maker instead of just being a player, right? But if you're trying to hodl and maintain a position, which, you know, you've got 10 SOV today, you want to have 10 SOV tomorrow, acting as a market maker does not guarantee that for you.
Yago, just a quick question on that. Does the Sovryn treasury or platform plan to provide its own liquidity for that pool to begin with?
Yes, we have been discussing it, and that's one of the reasons that we're going to be having a treasury set, because we want to set up a committee for a treasury, which we call the Chancellors of the Exchequer. And the Chancellors of the Exchequer, what we're going to look to do is have them have the ability, be granted the ability by the community to manage the treasury in such a way that it can provide liquidity to the different pools, ARB different pools, etc., so that we can start providing that important function within the system.
But where will the SOV come from? I can understand where the BTC will come from, but where is the SOV coming from?
Most of the SOV in the world is held by the Sovryn protocol. And so right now, there's a small amount of SOV which is controlled by the protocol. In other words, it's already unlocked and can be provided to the treasury. I think it's about 600,000 SOV. And if you guys have seen the graphs, right, where, you know, the adoption pool gets unlocked over time, where that is supposed to go is decided by us, by the Bitocracy. And so we can choose that right now, for example, until we've got the liquidity mining system set up, it goes to the Exchequer so that the Exchequer can make use of it.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. Are we moving on with the
Yago, did you
community
finish?
updates, or do we need to discuss that further?
Well, I think it seems like I don't know, either I didn't explain it at all or I explained it well enough. It doesn't look like there's an additional question at this moment. We can always take more questions later.
If anybody has any questions, we can continue.
Yep. Let's see who is next on. Take it.
I do
next
have,
up is-
sorry. England, does the WBTC SOV pool?
Yeah. The basic answer is that it doesn't directly impact it because the funds held by the programmatic sale pool remain in there to utilize them. That said, starting March 30th, there won't be quite as much sense. In doing say, I have a system which sells into that over time. We could want to have the evolution sale. I mean, evolution sale, for example, was planned to be a sale on Ethereum. So it might be that we still, at some point in the future, decide to have the evolution sale in order to open up that market. A good example of this is if you guys are, reading the crypto news, you know that Coinbase are planning an IPO. But the Coinbase stock already has a price, right? Because it's traded on secondary markets. Now, not everyone can participate in secondary markets. Only really accredited investors in the US can participate in those secondary markets. So when there's an IPO, it just basically moves those, it creates a new market called the NASDAQ where coin shares can be traded, right? But there already is a price, and that's how they came up with this idea of a $100 billion IPO, because that's the price that is indicated in the secondary market. So it doesn't mean that you can't do sales. It doesn't even mean that you can't try and set what the price will be. But of course, in the extremely liquid environment, which is crypto, having substantial price differentials because of new markets might not, it still happens, but it might be somewhat reduced. I'll give you an example of a way in which it does happen. So let's say that there's some token which is trading on Uniswap, right? And it's trading at $10 a token, right? And then everyone starts to get really excited because they hear it's going to trade on Binance. And what typically happens is that that market will open up on Binance and suddenly it'll be trading at $40, right? Introducing new markets, even though from a theoretical perspective, like an economic theoretical perspective, should not change price, in practice does. And the line, which I think we should all be very familiar with about this, is that in theory there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice there is.
Thanks, Jörg.
Okay, is that it for questions?
Hi guys, if you don't mind, I think Iago made an excellent point with first establishing a market price for Sov, and that indeed opens a door to a lot of other opportunities and to a fair evaluation. I was just wondering, and I know we said we didn't discuss the Pomp proposal, but this the question I'm having doesn't actually concern the other side, only concerns us. Wouldn't it be wise from us to first establish the market price and then consider outside proposals for acquisition? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that, although again, I don't think we should talk about this too much, and that would have been a great question to ask, and you still can ask it on Sunday. But so I'll just say, I don't think we should get into that too much now, but I will respond to that question. What Anthony and the other investors know or think, right, when they make an investment is that they're going to make a lot of money. And that's why they want to make an investment. I mean, but you know, they have other reasons as well, support the mission, etc. But you know, they want to make a lot of money. Now, they know that what will happen when the token starts trading on a market price, they suspect very strongly that it's going to trade quite a bit above the price that they're offering. And so they're trying to get in at what they think is a lower price than what the market price is going to be. So in a way, one way to interpret Usman's question is, should we let them? And I'm going to suggest that we should, because I've spent a bunch of time in our forums and Telegram. And the truth is that I think that the profile of investor who would be coming in is more valuable than the money that they're bringing. They bring substantial strategic and intangible value. And so we would want to give them a discount. However, once the token has a clear market price, convincing this community, right, to give them that discount will be like herding extremely angry cats. No one will want to do it. And so I think the reason...
Please mute yourself if you're not speaking.
And so I think that the reason, or one of the reasons that the syndicate have made their proposal now is because they are aware of the fact that it is likely to become liquid. They know that there's likely to be a market to emerge, and they know that their window of opportunity is closing. So they want to grab the opportunity, and I think we want to grab the opportunity as well. Because it's true that in theory, we could let the price be whatever the price is and then come to them and say, listen, guys, we're going to give you a 20-25% discount, right? And also remember, they're locking their tokens up for a long time, etc., etc. But trying to explain that to this community, not to the guys on the call, not to you people who are on the call, but all the people, right, the thousands of people who are not on the call but can still vote, is going to be a very, very difficult task. They'll want to negotiate the discount. They'll want to ask why there isn't a discount. They'll want all kinds of things. You've seen the Telegram groups just as well as I have. And so I think that for us, the window of opportunity is closing as well. And so I, for that reason, support doing this, because I think it will bring substantial benefits to all of us and to the future of the protocol.
Thank you for the detailed answer. Appreciate it.
Jump in here as I think it's my section now, if there's no further questions. My name's Slider and I lead the adoption team. I just want to give you a quick update on what we've been doing. So we're really excited that the Origin Sov will become liquid towards the end of next week, and it will be possible to start doing things with it. What is really exciting in terms of our marketing efforts is that we will be opening up the Sovryn experience to new users. This means that we will start to lift the whitelisting, although this will be in a very limited way to start with, starting with the Sovbdc pool. This presents us with the opportunity to begin promoting the Sovryn offering to the wider crypto community, so we can start testing the market and ultimately start getting new users on board. Part of our task in the next iteration is to describe the many ways that it's possible to earn funds with Sovryn, and we're working on how we communicate that opportunity to you and to people outside of the community here. Of course, as discussed just now, there will be opportunities to earn through lending, through arbitrage, and through providing liquidity to the various pools. Some of these opportunities are up and running now, but some are coming down the line. So please look out for further information on that and how you can get involved and where are the best. We'll try to communicate where the best opportunities are to supersize your stash. Another theme this week has been the website. The team have been busy preparing this, and the copy and graphics are pretty much finished. We're now going to push this to the developers, and we expect it will take about 4 weeks before we can reveal the final site to you. But having reviewed it today, I can tell you we're very, very fortunate to have a talented group of designers working on this, and it's going to be well worth the wait. Oh, and a shout out to Sue for heading that project up. And that's pretty much it from me. It's not a long update this week, but I want to thank you for supporting Sovryn by continuing to share our updates within your networks. Please continue to do that. And of course, we're always open to offers of help. If you have a particular skill set you'd like to put forward, we're always happy to hear from you. So do reach out to me. I'm Slider. Thanks very much. Back to you, Ingemar.
Thanks, Freya. Slider. Let's look at who's next on our agenda. Exiled Surfer?
That'd be me. Hey, everybody. First thing I'd like to do is a big word of thanks to our awesome community management team with their ability to respond with patience and knowledge to people in our channels, spreading knowledge. Shout out to the Wiki team for enabling that. It's really great watching that and seeing the community grow and being 99% welcoming of people that jump in and seeing the dialogue shift to knowledge about all the things that are happening in the ecosystem. So one of the big things that we have moving forward is we've been looking into ways, how to do education, activation programs, and we've developed now, based on the information on the wiki, a 50-question multiple choice quiz, which will get put into a type form with shiny graphics from our awesome design team, Sue and Danny. And we'll look to attach some sort of rewards program to that. So that's in planning. Look for that to be coming out soon. The second thing is that we are looking to build an NFT platform, also for rewards and badges, natively on RSK. Iago and I have spoken to a team based in Spain and Argentina that are already building such a platform and are hoping to onboard them into building a system for us that would expand out to the community and allow people to create their own NFTs and for us to do curated art and stuff like that. So that's another cool feature. The big news that I have, though, is that we're pretty close to settling details for the Sovrython hackathon, which we hope to hold in the first week of May. Reached out to Gitcoin this week and spoke with founders there who I've done other projects with. Iago and I have a meeting with them on Monday to settle the details. We're looking to offer $500,000 worth of SOV in bounties, which would be the largest bounty program to happen on Gitcoin. They've been highest, I think, like 300K. The reason for the hackathon is not only community building, but essentially to reach out for talent and to reach out for features and bridges into the Sovryn ecosystem. This will be our foray into the developer side of the Ethereum market, since we're
Thanks very much, Surfer. So I'd like to take this now to the question of the liquidity and the pricing within our system, and talk about how we together can eliminate the price discrepancies that we're seeing, make sure that we're all able to take the type of positions, and then remove the limits on transaction sizes and remove the whitelisting. So what is the path to getting there? So we've already discussed the AMM, right? The automated market maker, the ability for all of you guys to be market makers. And so I want to make a distinction here. There are two ways that you can help fight price discrepancies in the system. Both of them are profitable. Both of them are things that you could be doing right now. And we're going to be looking over the course of the coming week or 2 weeks to put out tutorials and information which will help you figure out how this works. But you're smart guys and girls, so let's talk about how you could start doing it like right now. So the first way you can do it is by acting as the market maker, by being a liquidity provider to the pools. And the number one pool which is causing trouble right now is the Bitcoin to USDT and Bitcoin to DOC pools. In other words, the Bitcoin to the dollar-denominated asset pools. What they need is more Bitcoin. We have now reintroduced Fastbdc, which means that you can very easily get BTC onto the system. And we're going to be increasing the limits so that you'll be able to transfer much larger amounts of BTC soon. Right now you can transfer 0.1 BTC, but I expect it will be 1 BTC and more in the near future. So what you could do is you could go and deposit that BTC into a pool, for example, the BTC USDT pool. You do that on the market making page, and you will begin to earn money on every single trade that happens in the system. There's something you can do which is even more powerful, more valuable, and more lucrative than that. And that is that you can balance the prices. You can arb the prices yourselves, right? So you can provide liquidity, but that's a passive activity, and it doesn't as quickly impact the price. It just means that the price from in the future will move more slowly. But you can literally move the price. And the way you do that is, let's say the price of Bitcoin is too high. What does that mean? It means that if you sell Bitcoin, you're going to get more money than you should. You're going to get more money for your Bitcoin. You're going to get, like, let's say that the price of Bitcoin is trading in other exchanges for $55,000. And on our exchange, it's trading at $60,000. That means that if you sell a Bitcoin, you immediately make $5,000 free money. So how do you find those opportunities? We are working to put together a page, and it's going to be ugly because we're looking to put it together quickly, but we're looking to put together a page which will make it easier for you to find those opportunities. But you can already find those opportunities. All you need to do is go to the swaps page and look for a trade. For example, a big hint here, right? Bitcoin USDT. And if you see that the price of Bitcoin on our system is too high, just sell Bitcoin. Now, some of you, most of you, probably all of you, don't particularly want to sell Bitcoin. Maybe some of you do. Well, if you want to sell Bitcoin, our platform is by far the best place in the world to sell that Bitcoin right now. But let's say you don't want to sell Bitcoin. You really want to be an arbitrage trader, right? That's very hard right now, and will probably be hard for another week until we get the bridges up. Once the bridges are up, you'll be able to buy that USDT, send that USDT to a different platform, buy Bitcoin, send the Bitcoin back in, do the whole thing over again, and basically just print money for yourself. Right now, you have to be a little bit more sophisticated. The best way to do it, if you want to keep your Bitcoin position neutral but still print money, is, let's say you have a Binance account, right? You go, you sell Bitcoin on our platform, and at the same time, or more or less the same time, you take a leveraged 2x long position on Bitcoin on Binance. Now what happens? You've already just made money on our platform. If the price of Bitcoin goes up and your leverage long works, you've made even more money. If the price of Bitcoin goes down on your leverage long, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up in a neutral position. This is a typical arbitrage play. It's basically you get to control the situation so that you can print money on average. And in fact, if you're careful about it, in other words, you're watching the screen, or you build a bot, you can not just print money on average, you can print money on every single trade, right? So we don't need a lot of people to do this because there are big discrepancies now, but they're caused by relatively small amounts of trades. But if just a few people start doing this, and I'm planning to do some of this myself, we will very, very quickly squash that price differential in a way which will allow us to consistently have the right pricing and to basically start eliminating all of the limitations that we have to trading on our system. In addition to that, to encourage you guys to go and participate in this, to learn about this, to look in this, we're currently looking to introduce some rewards. This will not be typical liquidity mining rewards because the liquidity mining isn't set up yet and probably won't be properly set up for a few weeks. The reason the liquidity mining system isn't set up yet and won't be properly set up yet for a few weeks is because what's most important for us now is to make sure that we can get a huge amount of funds into our system. Once there's the ability, once we can open up those gates, right, then it makes sense for us to start aggressive liquidity mining, because then we could just become a black hole that absorbs all of the liquidity in the world. Right now it would be wasted. So there's no point in us having that liquidity mining right now. But we can have targeted liquidity mining programs, and these will have to be done in a retroactive way. So we're planning to retroactively, effectively airdrop SOV to people who are participating in this, and we'll be if we manage to get it sorted in a way where we are happy with it, and it doesn't distract the dev team from the other important stuff that they're doing, we will basically be starting that ASAP. So keep listening, and we will be looking to post about that through all of the different channels so that you can hear about it and take advantage of it. And then finally, come March 30th, there is going to be the Sovbdc pool. And here, again, there's an opportunity to print money. What do I mean? If you are interested in selling SOV, you could just go and sell SOV. But that would be silly because you'd be missing out on money you could make. The best way to do it is to deposit that SOV as a liquidity maker. And then you, every time you sell, you also earn the transaction. So you make more money than you would the other way around. The other side of it is if you're looking to sell BTC, then deposit BTC and act as a BTC market maker. And both, by the way, because trades are symmetrical, that works in both ways, right? So if you want to buy SOV, right, the thing to do is to deposit BTC. Now, if that's not happening quick enough for you, you can always withdraw the funds and buy, do just a market buy on the spot. But if you don't have a need to buy at the exact price that is happening right now, right, but you have a general sense that you want to go long or want to go short on any one of those assets, the best way to do it is to act as a market maker. I suspect through the conversation that we're having here, the educational materials that the team are working on to put out and the various rewards that we're hoping to do, I believe that over the next 2 weeks, we will crush, squash, destroy, eliminate the price discrepancies in our system, which is going to mean that our system is going to become unlimited very, very soon. And there will be no turning back. There's one other thing I want to talk about in terms of earning a way to earn SOV, but before I get into that, I was wondering if there are any questions or extra explanation that I or anyone else from the team can give on this issue.
Manage your risk.
Yeah.
Spread out your investments because the entire.
Sorry, who is speaking? Okay, I think somebody got lost there.
Can I answer? Can I please ask a question?
Sure.
There was so much good information in everything you said, but I couldn't, let's say, memorize everything. Could you please tell us where we could find the recording of everything you said, and where and when will you post it so that I can listen to it again and do what you were saying? Or maybe
you can tell us if you're going to put information about it somewhere or something.
In Glandia?
Thank you. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
By the way, there are much more sophisticated games you can play, right? There's basically no end to the sophistication and creativity you can have. Like, for example, let's say you've got SOV, all right? And you want to print money. And you spent all of your hard-earned Bitcoin on SOV. Well, what we're going to be doing soon is we're going to be adding SOV to the lending pool. So what you'll be able to do is take your SOV, deposit it into the lending pool as collateral, borrow Bitcoin, go sell that Bitcoin, all right, which is Bitcoin that you don't even like properly own, right? You've borrowed Bitcoin. You've now made a profit on that Bitcoin, okay? You can then go pay back your loan, and you're like, again, you're printing money, and you're printing money on money that you don't even like. This is what decentralized finance it makes possible, right? Not everyone's going to want to take advantage of these things, right? I am not sophisticated enough to take advantage of most of these opportunities, which is why I'm a simple pleb who goes and builds shit, right? But many of you were smart enough to find Sovryn early on. I'm sure you guys know how to do these things, and educating yourself on them is an education worthwhile, because it's the future of how you manage your finances, like until you guys die. So there's a really interesting opportunity here, and that's one of the things that's exciting about Sovryn. I have one last thing, sorry, if there aren't any more questions. I'll also stay on, as will, I'm sure, many others after the call to continue the discussion. But there's one other way that you can start earning SOV starting today. I'm sure it will get published in the bounty room, if not today, then very shortly. We are offering a $1,000 bounty reward for any referral that ends up with someone being hired by the protocol in any position. So that's $1,000 worth of SOV that you can earn from just making a referral. You can go into the wiki, look at all of the different positions that we are looking to fill. You know someone who does this. You know even yourself. Refer yourself. Refer a friend. Get $1,000 free in SOV. But there's one particular need that we're looking for in particular, which is senior developers, right? Extremely talented engineers, right? We want all of the extremely talented engineers in the world working on Sovryn. And so we're offering a $10,000 referral bounty. All you need to do is refer someone who actually gets hired, and you will earn $10,000. So hit your network, hit your LinkedIn, call that really, really smart guy that you met once in a bar, whatever, right? And start referring them to Sovryn. Because if we hire them, that's $10,000. Start printing money with Sovryn. I'm unfortunately disqualified because I'm not a senior developer or anything.
Hey guys, what's the ETA on the ETH bridge?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give an exact date. I tell you, it's so close. I can feel it breathing on the back of my.
And any updates on the use of TBTC and using those guys to bring in more BTC liquidity into the platform?
That's moving forward, but will take several weeks more. That's extremely complicated tech. Not to mention the fact that we're introducing all kinds of improvements to it. So yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.